Golden State Media Concepts Fantasy Football Podcast is your one-stop shop for fantasy football news and advice. Can't decide on who to draft on the first round? Going gaga on how to line up your team. Got you covered. Traditional leagues, dynasty league, PPR league, IDP league, even daily fantasy football league. Join us as we break down all the questions of fantasy football. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Fantasy Football Podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. I am your host, as always, Jeff Malanoff, and with me is my partner in crime, Mark Souza. We got some Pro Bowl fantasy, daily fantasy to talk about, as well as Antonio Brown and his projected future and what would better fit him when it comes to fantasy football owners. So we'll talk about that as well. But first, we got to just talk briefly about fantasy football when it comes to the Pro Bowl. There is some daily fantasy in that sense, so we should talk about that so you guys can maybe win money. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I only see, if you're going off of DraftKings, you're going to usually just have the captain mode.
Yes.
So
yeah, it's definitely the format. What do they call this? The showdown or whatever. It's not the classic. It's just the.
I think it's
mode.
showdown captain mode.
Mm-hmm.
So who's your captain? Who would you go? Would you go with a wide receiver?
I have no idea, to be quite
because
honest with
quarterbacks are changed more frequently than the other positions are. I feel like
I'd probably just go with Saquon Barkley.
I was also thinking Saquon Barkley. I was also thinking of Smith-Schuster. Because I feel like he's going to get a little more snaps than most. Maybe even Thielen.
Mm-hmm.
But,
yeah, I don't know. I'd say Barkley or maybe a guy like Kamara, but he just played. I think Barkley's a rookie. I think he'd like to leave his impression, and I think they'll use him more than Ezekiel Elliott.
Didn't Adrian Peterson, his rookie year when he got the Pro Bowl, went off?
I would want a younger guy who's looking to make a big impression. Maybe a George Kittle could be a sneaky play as a captain.
He is only 8,400. I
think that's sneaky. You could definitely see maybe a Tariq Cohen. You know, somebody.
Let me ask you: do you get multiple quarterbacks, like 2 or maybe even 3?
I wouldn't. Maybe I would take one quarterback. Probably.
It was just a question need to be asked because they're going to be frequently moved around and subbed out.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm assuming they're going to get only a handful of snaps. Would you agree?
I think you could be sneaky and get a guy. I think like Kyle Juszczyk would be a sneaky play as part of your team, not as a captain, but as a part of your team because he's a fullback, and he's the only one.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going to be on the field the whole time. He's literally going to be on the field the whole time. So he might just catch a touchdown, maybe get a couple passes his way. You never know.
Yeah, it all depends on what offense they run, too.
Yeah, I mean, it's a Pro Bowl. It's so hard to speculate.
Yeah.
I would just go with young player, maybe first time there.
I would definitely pick
name.
first time there because they seem to have better games than most. Because then once they reach the 15th, 16th Pro Bowl, like Hall of Famers do, they kind of just go, okay. You know what I mean? I think it's more of that factor. But who do you think has the biggest upside? Who do you think, if you had to pick one player to explode this game?
Barkley. That's why I'd pick him to be my captain.
Mm-hmm. You don't see a Tyreek Hill or a Smith-Schuster breaking out?
My issue is since Tyreek Hill just played.
I see. After they just recently played last week. I see what you're saying.
I think think about it. So a lot of these guys, their season's been over for a few weeks. Mm-hmm. Whereas Tyreek Hill, of course he's talented. He might be the best athlete there, but
Probably the fastest guy there.
But, I think there is a little bit of a letdown where, you were so close to making it to the Super Bowl and, you're kind of chilling this week. Yeah, you're going to play.
You're like, it's not really it's a game with no importance.
But you're also more sore than, everybody else there. You've been getting hit. You were just 5 days ago playing in the biggest game of your career. Whereas, some of these other guys, they didn't make the playoffs. Or they did, and they got knocked out earlier. Yeah, a guy like Juju. I think Juju's a good play.
I mean, getting out, and of course he is. This is his first Pro Bowl, if I'm not mistaken.
I think a guy like Deshaun Watson is probably the quarterback that I would pick.
Not Mahomes, because of the fact of the last week.
Mahomes. I don't think Mahomes will play that much. Deshaun Watson, though, I think will be geared up for this, and he likes to throw the ball deep. Deshaun likes to wing it.
And who likes to run deep is Tyreek Hill, though. Yeah, and Smith-Schuster's pretty quick himself, all things considered. He might go deep himself, but he also
there's a lot of good players. I mean,
I know Smith-Schuster's more of a route guy, but I mean, why not go deep? It's the Pro Bowl, go nuts, right?
Yeah, Keenan Allen, Smith-Schuster, Tyreek Hill.
Would you I understand picking a wild card team guy. Would you pick a divisional round guy? I know it's still been a couple of weeks, but you were closer.
Do what?
Picking a guy that was in the divisional round. I know it's still been a couple of weeks, but they were still pretty close as well.
Maybe. I might.
I would pick a wild card guy over a.
I'm just for me, if I'm for my captain, for my.
Mm-hmm. Barkley's probably the best way to go.
I'm going Barkley. Then I'm probably going
Smith-Schuster.
Yeah, and then I might think about Watson. Because I think if there's one quarterback that'll be like, I don't care, this is a Pro Bowl, this is fun, and I'm just trying to... Because Watson didn't get to play last year. This is his first time.
Yeah, this is probably an experience for him he wants to have.
Mm-hmm. So I could see
I also would look a lot at players that did not make the playoffs because they were not close to winning the Super Bowl, obviously. So why not have fun with it in this game? Mm-hmm. That's who I mainly look at. I wouldn't. I'd be hesitant to look at playoff players, just because they had something to play for recently. I know it's been a couple of weeks, but still recently. And the others.
Trubisky's in the Pro Bowl. Dak Prescott
wasn't that an alternate though?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, alternates I have with a grain of salt.
There's no way that one of these guys can win. They're not winning, or they're not getting the most points.
And Brady should be in it as well.
I think Kittle's a sneaky play too as a wild card, or as a captain, because
he did break the record for.
He's going to be on the field the whole time. He's going to be on the field the whole time. He's going to catch a lot of passes. He's probably going to catch 6 or 7, maybe a touchdown or 2. He gets 2 touchdowns. Mm-hmm. At that price point, that could be a huge bargain for you.
Well, let me ask you: the players that are in the Super Bowl right now, like Goff, do you see Goff as the Pro Bowler that you would have picked if he didn't make it, or do we still been hesitant about the NFC Championship type of situation?
Mm-hmm.
But there's still a lot of players outside the Super Bowl that have a lot to play. Maybe not a lot to play for, but just are relaxed and have more fun. And Adrian Peterson was one of those biggest breakout games in the Pro Bowl recent memory, and I can see Barkley doing the same exact thing.
Yeah.
And
I would be surprised.
Also, Larry Fitzgerald does have more touchdown receptions in the Pro Bowl than anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe go for him, because he is a record breaker when it comes to Pro Bowl.
I'm talking about Larry Fitzgerald.
Yeah.
Oh,
you're saying that no, if Trubinsky doesn't want to throw to Fitzgerald.
What do you mean?
I'm saying Fitzgerald might be a good pickup because there's a lot of young quarterbacks on the NFC side, and one of them might want to throw to a legend in Larry Fitzgerald, a future Hall of Famer.
I didn't know that Fitzgerald's even playing.
Last time I checked, he was in there.
He's not one of the players you can select.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
That's strange, because I saw him as an alternate.
Yeah, he was selected as an alternate, which is interesting.
Why isn't he available though? That's more weird than him being an alternate.
Yeah, you can't pick him.
That's weird.
I don't think he's playing. He was selected as an alternate, but I don't think he made it. He's not playing in the game.
I swear I saw him there.
I didn't see him yesterday during the skills challenge either. So, I don't know, but he is not able to be chosen.
Okay.
The only wide receivers from the NFC that are able to be chosen are Thielen, Devontae Adams, Mike Evans, and Amari Cooper.
Okay.
It would be weird. Like, why did Fitzgerald make the Pro Bowl as an alternate? He didn't do anything.
He did what he could with a...
Yeah, but it's not a, charity. I get it. He didn't have the greatest situation, but, I mean, he had, 69 catches this year for 700 yards?
Yeah, look who he played with, though.
I know, but that's not an argument, right? Like, you don't make the Pro Bowl because...
I didn't pick him in there.
I know, but you don't make the Pro Bowl because, he had a bad quarterback this year. No, you just don't make the Pro Bowl. Like, that, you didn't have the numbers, You didn't have the stats.
I think it's more just respect for him. I don't know.
Yeah. So anyways, I don't know, man. It's who knows when you're playing daily fantasy for the Pro Bowl. This is as ridiculous as playing preseason daily fantasy, which you can do. And I've seen people do
that.
Yeah, and I've seen people win money doing that. And but that's a little bit silly. But that's more predictable because that
who's
a backup quarterback is going to play a half, or you can kind of predict playing time a little bit better than you can in the Pro Bowl, in my opinion.
Yeah, true.
You know that a backup running back's gonna get a lot of run.
Obviously, in the preseason, you're fighting for a job. Pro Bowl, you're not really fighting for a job.
So we'll see, but I don't know. I don't really care to talk about this any further.
You just hate the Pro Bowl, don't you?
I mean, I don't hate the Pro Bowl, but I mean it's daily fantasy. You're talking about guys who are playing a pickup
exhibition
game at the park, who they don't care.
Yeah, well, this game has just been known for not a lot of interest from the players and fans alike. So,
yeah. What do you say we go to a break and then we come back? We could talk about some good season-long fantasy conversation in regards to where Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown might play next year, and with more importantly, where do we see them going for their best fantasy value? Where would you like to see them go? And we'll dive into that. The possible teams, the rumors. Is it a good fit, bad fit? We can do that when we return. What do you say?
Sure, but at first I want to talk about something. I want to talk about investing. Because when investing and planning to your retirement, or for your retirement, it's always best to get advice from the experts. Best-selling author Harry Dent, America's #1 economist, says the dark window is open. There's an opportunity to rapidly boost your retirement savings before the greatest stock market crash in American history. But this dark window won't be open for long. You can make up to 10 times the annual average stock market gain in just a few short months. This dark window is something bigger by far than anything he's predicted up to this point, and you can make 10 times the annual average stock market gain. Find out more by going to www.harrydentforecast.com. This is a very short time to take advantage of this dark window, so go to www.harrydentforecast.com to learn more.
Are you looking for the very best NFL and college football podcast? Then check out the GSMC Football Podcast. Get the latest football news both on and off the field. From the NFL Draft to trades to the rumor mill to the NFL Combines, they got you covered. That's GSMCpodcast.com/football-podcast. Get updates on college rivalries, game day insights, and much, much more. It's football talk the way you want it. This show eats, sleeps, and breathes football. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Welcome back, everyone, to the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. We just we finished talking about the Pro Bowl and that daily fantasy routine. Now we're going to move on to ideas for next season, and especially two maybe former Steeler players by the beginning of next season. That's Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell.
Mm-hmm.
We'll start with Le'Veon Bell because he's most likely going to be gone, and he's a free agent, so he has the option to go anywhere he wants.
I guess technically he could get franchise tagged.
Can you see that actually happening, though?
I don't see it happening, but
he already sat out one season. I'm not wasting a franchise tag on him if I'm the Steelers. He doesn't want to be here.
Right. So yeah, let's start off with him.
Sure.
Where do you see him going, and what I guess is the best landing spot? If
it sounded like he wanted to go to the Dolphins recently, which I think would just be that's not the best place for him, in my opinion, because of the fact they've already kind of admitted they are not planning on winning the next 2 seasons. So it's kind of a lost cause for him. But the thought of going to Indianapolis is probably the best fit for him. Not only that offensive line would give him holes that he would just salivate over, but the passing game is also very strong, and where it's just like his situation in Pittsburgh.
What team are you talking about?
Indianapolis.
Yeah, that could be the best spot. I wonder if they're an option.
It's mainly that offense
considering him
because
of Marlon Mack.
True, but you have such more cap space. Wouldn't you love to have Marlon Mack and Le'Veon Bell side by side?
Yeah, I think
that would be the most dangerous running back
duo. If I was the Colts, I'd rather go after a big-time pass rusher, even like a DeMarcus Lawrence.
The thing is, they have over $100 million in cap space. They could probably get both, to be completely honest with you.
I just don't know. I get it. Le'Veon Bell going there would be cool. Like, I think that'd be a great fantasy destination.
But the thing is, I think that what Le'Veon Bell would be more attracted to is that offensive line. That's why I say Indianapolis. Because that offensive line is amazing.
So reports are that Le'Veon Bell wants to play for Miami. I would assume that's just because of the location.
I'm assuming the same
going
thing.
For them. They don't even have a head coach right now, so it's a weird thing to say.
Yeah, it might also be like taken out of context. Mm-hmm. We don't know the actual situation, but we both assume it's location.
Yeah, I mean, what else could it be, right? Like,
yeah.
Indianapolis is interesting. Yes, they have the money. They have the flexibility. Do they want to pay $80 million for running back? Probably not. I don't think they would want to do that. They'd probably want to spend their money in other departments.
There was also talk about the Jets.
Jets is an interesting play.
They would ride him to death, though, to a point where he might crumble under it. Not because he can't handle it.
I'll be completely honest with you. I don't think there's a better situation than where he's at. Like
Pittsburgh?
Because they love to use
they're a power run team too.
But they not only do they love to use the running back exclusively, they like to use one running back exclusively.
Look at James Conner. Yeah.
James Conner got all the run this year until he got hurt because they just gave him the ball the whole time. He never came off the field.
They don't use 2 running backs. You're right on that. And
it's going to be hard to be in a better situation because not only is Steelers were A+ in a few different categories. A+ in opportunity, A+ in scoring opportunities, and you're automatically being surrounded by Big Ben, Antonio Brown, Juju. Like, that is an offense that's going to go up and down the field, and you're going to be the beneficiary of getting all these rushing touchdowns inside the 5, inside the 10.
But there is more reasons other than that he's leaving. It's not because of the situation.
We're just talking about fantasy football.
Yeah.
That's it. But in terms of Miami, if he goes there...
There's nothing. Absolutely nothing.
If he goes there, he's not a top 2-round pick for me, to be honest with you. He's just not. Because
he might be a backup running back for me.
Who's their quarterback going to be? They've already said that they're not planning on being competitive this year. Like, they're looking to the next season. They're looking to basically rebuild for the next 2 years. They've kind of waved the white flag. Yeah. I don't want that running back. Like, I don't want a player on that team.
Will they even offer him anything if that's the case? If they're not trying to win, why would they offer someone to one of the top running backs in the league?
I think Oakland is a big opportunity for Le'Veon Bell. I think if he goes to Oakland...
Well, the thing is, there was also talks about the Colts' backup quarterback, Jacoby Brissett, wanting to get a chance to start somewhere else. And honestly, Miami might be that place he starts.
I think for Le'Veon Bell, Oakland would be a good destination for him in terms of fantasy value because John Gruden likes veterans. John Gruden likes to run the ball. John Gruden likes old school offense. And I think Le'Veon Bell would play I don't think he'd touch what he did at the Steelers, but I think he'd be close. He'd definitely be a first-round pick for me if he goes to Oakland, just because, dude, volume is king, man. Volume is king in fantasy football. You want the players with the most attempts, the most receptions, the most targets, the most quarterbacks that throw the ball the most. Why is Tom Brady so normal this year and not one of the best fantasy football quarterbacks? Is they don't throw the ball as much as everybody else. Same with Russell Wilson. Like, these guys are handing the ball off a lot, whereas the guys like Patrick Mahomes, they're throwing the ball a lot. They're throwing the ball down the field a lot. So volume is king, man. So I think Le'Veon will never be in a better situation than he was with Pittsburgh, but there's a couple locations that can give him somewhat close. I think that would have to be Oakland. I think Jacksonville's interesting too. I don't know if that's a team that's going to make a big splash, but they could be moving on from Leonard Fournette. Miami is definitely the worst one of all these places. The Jets is interesting, but Adam Gase is a hard coach to figure out when it comes to fantasy football. He gives people headaches when it comes to...
Looking at his eyes gave me headaches.
Adam Gase's decisions and erratic starting lineups and who he activates and deactivates and who he gives the ball to that game and who he doesn't, that's more erratic than his eyes. Like, he is all over the place when it comes to fantasy football.
That's kind of debatable.
He is
no,
all
I
over the place.
I totally get what you're saying. Just
like, Kenyon Drake had multiple times this year where he had like 3 carries.
Dude, I wake up at night and those eyes are staring at me. I swear to God.
That's weird.
I know.
Why are you waking up next to Adam Gase?
No, that's the thing. He's not in. I think that his eyes are just haunting me. I think he's a ghost. I don't think he's real. Anyways, moving on. One of the things about this is let's go talk about Adam Gase still. Is that really if he goes there with Adam Gase? Is he still a top 2 round pick? Because they're still trying to win games, though. The Jets are.
Probably, but I don't know. Like, yeah, probably.
It's hard.
I'm just not that. I'm concerned with Adam Gase. I'll be honest with you. I really am.
So you're one of the many that don't agree with the coach hiring.
No. It's not that I don't agree. I actually like Adam Gase, but in terms of predicting fantasy value with Adam Gase is very hard. That's my point. It's not a slam dunk. Like, if he goes to the Raiders,
fantasy-wise,
if he goes to the Raiders, I know he's going to get the ball all the time. He's going to be on the field all the time. Adam Gase, I have no idea. The guy plays Frank Gore. The guy plays Kenyon Drake. The guy plays neither one. The guy plays Devontae Parker. Then he benches him. Then he plays him. Like, the guy is all over the place.
He's very indecisive.
Yeah, I'm just not into it. Like, I'm not into it.
It is a rough patch. Do you see him going west to the West Coast, or do you see him staying in the East?
The only place that Le'Veon Bell could go to the West Coast is the Raiders. That's it. He's not going to San Francisco. He's not going.
I don't know
to
why
LA.
people thought he was going to go to San Francisco. There was talks about that too. Like, a lot of people thought that.
Yeah, because Kyle Shanahan's offense,
Kyle Shanahan arguably is the best offensive mind in the NFL.
Possibly.
So,
yeah.
well, that's why I said arguably. If I knew he was the best, I'd say without question. Hence, arguably. Wordplay. Anyways, what were we talking about? So you see the Raiders. Honestly,
the Raiders, though.
I have to say the Raiders might be the best spot for him based off how they run the ball. He would fit them like a glove, wouldn't he?
Yeah, I mean,
running inside. He's an inside runner.
It would be an obvious fit, absolutely.
But let's look at this realistically. Where do you see him? Do you see him staying in Pittsburgh, or do you think there's no chance?
I mean, if his goal is to just play in Miami and live there and not worry about winning football games, then sure, it could happen. I could see Miami picking him up, being the face of their franchise.
But the thing is, if he wins more, he gets more endorsements, more popularity, and there's nothing but good things for him, right?
Yeah,
in theory.
I think he's looking for that big guaranteed money, and who knows.
I don't even know what their cap space is over there in Miami.
They have a little bit of money, and plus they're likely cutting Tannehill, which will save them a bunch of money too. But I don't know, man. competitively, that's not the best place. That's the worst place for him. But in terms of, like, we don't even know who their coach is. Everybody says it's going to be Brian Flores, the defensive coordinator.
They haven't announced anything yet, have they?
Well, because Brian Flores is still coaching.
Yeah.
So, but that's expected. I think that will happen. But, right, I mean, yeah, it's weird to say, or it's weird to hear a report that so-and-so wants to play for a bad team with an uncertain future with no head coach at the moment. That's just a weird thing to say or hear, you know? It's like, yeah, because people can say, like, I really want to play for that coach, or I really want to play with that quarterback, but, like, to say, like, I want to play for a team that doesn't have a quarterback or a coach is weird. I don't care where it is. Like, I don't care how nice a stadium is, how nice the city is, how pretty the girls are in the city.
I hate to say this.
It's weird.
I believe it's the nightlife that he's attracted to, not the actual team itself.
I mean, let's be honest. He's not attracted to Miami for the football team. Like, there's got to be something else. It's not
there's
like
something there.
He didn't look at that roster and be like, got to join them. Like, they're
No
on their
one's
way.
saying
They're on their way. I'm trying to
And unless he only
train.
watched one game, and that was against the Patriots.
Yeah.
Other than that, no.
Let's talk about Antonio Brown, though. Antonio Brown, we all know that he's been flirting with the 49ers again on Instagram today. He posts a picture of him in a 49ers uniform.
And quote, embrace the GOAT.
If Antonio Brown does, in fact, leave the Steelers, are the 49ers the best landing spot for him in terms of fantasy value, or is there another place, another trade that you could see happening that might be more valuable?
You know, I hate to go back to the horse, pun intended, but the Colts. Andrew Luck played amazing last season. T.Y. Hilton on the other side of him, that could be absolutely deadly. Mm-hmm. And then, in looking at the 49ers side, Kyle Shanahan would love to have a guy like that and work around offense, and Jimmy Garoppolo, Marquise Goodwin on the other side, and with the good running backs of Matt Breida and Jared McKinnon coming back. Like, that could bode well amazing for Antonio Brown. He could be the best right there. Mm-hmm. And then you also look at, well, anywhere he goes, he's going to be a target. He's going to be the guy there.
Yeah, he's really good.
He's going to be the offense.
He's a great player.
He's going to be the key to their offense, no matter where he goes.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't.
It's actually not a lot of the teams that you look at across the landscape that I would say are a better landing spot for his value than San Francisco, assuming Jimmy Garoppolo is healthy. Assuming all quarterbacks are healthy at this point, because obviously that can drastically change.
The best I can think of is Indianapolis after that.
Yeah,
and also it's also because they're passing. Their pass blocking is
that's a better spot, to be honest with you, because at least there, T.Y. Hilton and Eric Ebron are mouths to feed too. Like, yes, it would be good with Andrew Luck. I see that link, but like T.Y. Hilton's really good too. So
I'm not taking anything away.
But like,
from
if he
Hilton.
goes to San Francisco, he is the absolute best receiver on the team by far. Yeah. Rather,
the 49ers are desperate for wide receivers, so I can see that.
T.Y. Hilton's arguably a top. He's definitely a top 15 wide receiver. He might be a top 10 wide receiver. And all said and done.
I also say the Colts. And I hate to keep being a broken record, but their cap space is so large they can afford him plus another extra pass rusher.
The Colts have a lot of money to spend.
Yes, and that's why I'm saying that's probably an attractive spot he wants to go to, because he knows he'll get paid.
Yeah, well, he's paid. He can't get another contract.
Yeah. I'm just saying, well, when it's out, he needs an extension. He knows the Colts can provide.
Yeah, but we don't know what the Colts' salary cap space is going to look like in 2 or 3 years.
I don't think they're going to waste all of that in 2 seasons.
Yeah, but if you go all out for 2 seasons in a row, you're all of a sudden normal with everybody else.
It also depends on who's in the free agent market that's worth that kind of money too.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. It's just hard to project what a team's salary cap space is going to look like in 2 years, especially considering the fact that in 2 years, Andrew Luck's contract will be up, and he'll be the highest paid quarterback again in the NFL already once before. And then maybe T.Y. Hilton, and maybe you got to pay Marlon Mack, and maybe you got to pay Darius Leonard, who just got All-Pro rookie linebacker, and then you got to pay Quentin Nelson because his deal will be up after 5 years. The first round guard, all pro in his own right. So I mean,
but do you really think regardless, it doesn't matter where he goes because he doesn't have a choice. It's the trade.
Yeah, I don't think.
Let me ask you this: who can offer more, the Colts or the 49ers?
About Antonio Brown, I don't think the Steelers trade him to a AFC team.
He's going NFC. You're saying
so. Yeah, because like the Steelers are still in the business of winning football games and winning championships.
Well,
If
we
you
all
give them
know
to the
NFC
Colts,
North
you're pretty
team-
much falling behind the Colts. Like the Colts.
But fortunately for them, they're in the AFC South and they're in the AFC North. That's
Right,
why
right,
I'm
but
saying
it's still
that's
the
still a
AFC.
possibility.
It's
Yes.
still it's a rival. It's a playoff rival.
Well,
like
let me ask you this: Who, if it was between those two, just hypothetically, what do you think? Who can offer more, the Colts or the 49ers?
Well, obviously the 49ers can offer them more. I mean, that's not even close. But I don't know if they will. Like, the question is what will be offered. It's not like obviously
Should
the
they
49ers
say what they're
have
asking for
the
and
49ers
say
have the second pick in the NFL draft, and they have the fourth pick in the second round of the NFL draft. The Colts have a late first-round pick and a late second-round pick. So in terms of value in each of those rounds, obviously the 49ers can offer you more attractive picks. I don't think a player is going to be traded in this. I don't know what players the Steelers would want back. Obviously the Colts aren't going to give up any of their young core. I really don't know what that conversation would look like. But in terms of draft capital, the 49ers have more draft capital than the Indianapolis Colts.
True.
Now, also, the Colts in the AFC, their price, the Steelers will probably require a higher price for Antonio Brown if they're going to trade him inside the AFC. Just like another spot that I think,
first?
You know where I think Antonio Brown would be epic? The Browns. But they would never trade him there.
No way. It's an AFC North.
Right, but if
division
you're just
rivals,
looking at fit,
Oh, I agree with you. But
young quarterback, likes to sling it. Jarvis Landry's a possession
Yeah.
guy. Antonio Brown, the
deep
oh
ball.
my goodness.
But the thing is, I hate it's AFC North. That's
no, I know. But
Yeah.
but AFC South is still AFC. I know it's not division, but it's still
I would
conference.
say AFC North is more worrisome.
It's a big reason why Khalil Mack was traded to the NFC. The Khalil Mack was not going to get traded to a division
the Chargers or
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anyone on the West Coast was going to get him, just based off market value alone too.
rival. Right. So
You want to take a break?
we'll see about Antonio Brown.
I love NFL offseason because this is 8 months of action, to be honest with you.
We'll take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about bounce-back candidates for next year's season-long fantasy football. Before we do that, I want to talk to you about investing and planning for your retirement. It's always best to get advice from the experts. Best-selling author Harry Dent, America's #1 economist, says the dark window is open. There's an opportunity to rapidly boost your retirement savings before the greatest stock market crash in American history. But this dark window won't be open for long. You could make 10 times the annual average stock market gain in just a few short months. According to the research of renowned Harvard economist Harry Dent, though, this window could slam shut later this year, and nobody on Wall Street is expecting it. This dark window is something bigger by far than anything he's predicted up to this point, and you could make 10 times the annual average stock market gain. Find out more by going to www.harrydentforecast.com. There is a very short time to take advantage of this dark window, so go to www.harrydentforecast.com to learn more.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA. From the UFC to extreme cage fighting, they got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Welcome back to the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast for those just joining us, we were talking about landing spots for Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell and see where they would best be fit at. Now we're talking about bounce-back players. Would you like to go first, or you want me to?
Go ahead.
Okay. He got injured at the end of the end of this season, but I think he can still do way more next season if he's healthy, and that's Doug Baldwin.
Yeah, that's who I had.
You already had that
was
also?
my first one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he had some trouble this season.
He said lows in like every department because he was hurt.
Yeah, and if he's at full health next season, I think he can have a great bounce back year. I think he could be if the second or third wide receiver picked in the draft. I feel like he's gonna be a late draft pick.
When do you think he's gonna get picked?
I would say that's gonna be, if I had in my order, I would pick him as my second or third wide receiver.
What round do you think he'll get picked in, like a 12-team league?
5th, 6th.
Yeah, probably something like that. Maybe even further.
Yeah,
because of this year.
Yeah, but it all depends on his health.
That's one thing about bounce back candidates is that you're able to get them maybe a little bit later because.
Do you think he's like a last round draft pick?
No, definitely not. But what I'm saying is, bounce back candidates, guys who had tough years, you might be able to get a little bit later because their disappointing season is baked into their ADP. Like their ADP is with, I drafted him last year and he didn't play well or he was hurt. Like that's why players will fall off. It's that recency bias, right?
It's gonna be one of those guys that's like, I got a feeling right here, man, that he's gonna do well. You know those guys.
My only question is, he will be 31 when the season starts.
Mm-hmm.
He's had some injury concerns the last couple of years. Even in 2017, he dealt with injuries. He's definitely a bounce back candidate, but
there are big question marks. Though.
My only concern about him is, what kind of upside is he? Like, I don't think he can be a top 15 wide receiver next year. I really don't. Now, can he be a top 20? Possibly.
He can get a few red zone touchdowns from Wilson.
Yeah, possibly. He's more of a possession receiver.
He's gonna be more like in the end zone touching the ball rather than running it.
Tyler Lockett emerges as Russell Wilson's major target this year, and I think he's got a big future.
It all depends on how Doug Baldwin is going into next season. If he's 100% healthy and they all say he's good to go, why not take him in the 5th or 6th round or 7th or 8th?
Mm-hmm.
Because that could lead to he could be Wilson's guy again. You know, like that's. Possibilities are endless, but it all depends on how he is by the beginning of next season.
All right, I got one.
Okay.
My first bounce back candidate for 2019 fantasy football is Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, wow.
Aaron Rodgers in 2016 had 4,400 yards and 40 touchdown passes to 7 interceptions. In 2017, in a shortened season due to injury, 1,600 yards, 16 touchdowns. This year, he was hurt most of the season. He did play, but again, he got hurt early on in the year, the first week actually. He still finished with 4,400 yards passing. The difference is he only had 25 touchdowns passing. That is a far cry from what he's normally accustomed to. I think next year he can still have over 4,000 passing yards. I'd say 42 to 4,400 is about the sweet spot. That's usually where he is in his career. But I think those touchdown numbers go up. He gets at least 10 to 12 more touchdowns next year if he's healthy. At least, which would put him at 35 to 38 touchdowns. And we all know that a healthy Aaron Rodgers can be an MVP Aaron Rodgers. There's no denying that he could possibly have a season where he has 45 touchdown passes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. But
he could have a Patrick Mahomes type season. He really could.
Yeah. But again, he does so much with so little talent around him too.
Devontae Adams is the one guy that's really good. Maybe they get another receiver. We'll see what they do with this new coaching staff.
He deserves help on the other side. I don't think I understand he can handle it on his own, but if we're expecting Rodgers,
a couple interesting young players on wide receiver this year. Maybe one of them develps. You know, because
that's
Valdez-Scantling did really well in his short time.
And who knows what free agencies get a hold? They might. They might swerve some people and get a wide receiver. If there is help on the opposite side for Devontae Adams, he could have a career year.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So Aaron Rodgers' bounce back quarterback year, if he's healthy, he's going to finish in the top 4 in fantasy quarterbacks, in my opinion. For sure. If he's not, top 10. But I think the reward is there. If you draft him, let's think about this, Jeff. What quarterbacks will be picked before Aaron Rodgers next year for sure? Like, for sure, slam dunk. Mahomes? Breeze?
Yeah.
After that, then who? Gets a little bit sketchy after that. Rivers? He's up there, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know. Goff's got to be up there because the offense. He put up a lot of points this year.
Yeah.
Who knows? Baker Mayfield, maybe?
Maybe. But
who's your next one?
I have a quarterback as well.
Go ahead.
And it's Kirk Cousins. I know he had a pretty stellar season, but there was one statistic that really bothers me, and that his rushing was way down. And that's one of the main reasons, like 2018, 2017, he was looked at, he had so many points, is because he had a lot of rushing. He had about 4 or 5 rushing touchdowns, somewhere around there. And adding that with like his average of 4,100 passing yards and 27 passing touchdowns, that raises his game to like the 12th quarterback in 2018 to number 7, or maybe even around there. And that's a huge jump.
Do you think, though, that he ran more with the Redskins because he didn't have the talent?
Yeah, maybe.
Because let's be honest, the Vikings probably have the first or second best wide receiver tandem in the NFL.
I totally agree with that.
The only other team that can argue they have a better tandem is the Steelers. Juju and Antonio Brown. Diggs and Thielen are both hella good receivers. Like, they are.
You hella get it?
They are hella good, man.
I completely agree with you.
That is such a duo right there. And plus, Diggs is like a big threat receiver, and Thielen is more of a red zone guy.
But, yes. But the previous 3 seasons with Washington, he had at least 4 touchdowns on
rushing.
The ground.
But he didn't have any receivers, is all I'm saying.
True. And only had 1 in 2018. But give him 3 extra rushing touchdowns, and adding on to 27 touchdown passes average, like that's a huge improvement. But I think just because he's with his he had a good season this year, I'm not taking that away from him, but he had his second best of his career in yards and 30 touchdown passes. He can only improve from that with his new team.
I think like he had I just worry because I feel like his fantasy season was normal along the lines is what he's been his whole career.
But I get that. But
like he had one other year he had more yards, but he had the most touchdowns he's ever thrown
30
for this
career
year.
high 30. But I think it's one of those things in where we gotta hope maybe there's a factor in he can improve with this new team. They will rally around him rather than keep this guy at bay. It felt like Washington was restricting him almost. No. Or he felt like he almost didn't belong there.
That was the theory, but I'm more concerned to what he did with the Vikings because his numbers didn't really go up. Like, they just were the same.
They were okay. It's not like they were bad.
But he had a really, he's got a really good offense. Like, he's got...
For the offense he had, that's why I'm saying he needs to bounce back. He can bounce back with the offense he had. He can bounce back from... He can have a career year. Because 30 touchdowns with that receiving core, like you said, is preposterous. You should maybe get 35, 40. And with Cousins and the talent he's supposed to have,
is just not that good. Like, what about the idea
that's $84 million just flushed down the toilet?
But we don't care about that. We only care about fantasy football. Like, what if
that's your first quarterback choice flushed down the toilet?
Oh yeah, but what if he's just like the 13th best quarterback in the league?
Yeah, but he's still going to be one of the first quarterbacks taken.
Would you take him?
I will not take him.
No, but would you take him as one of the top 8 quarterbacks picked next year's fantasy draft?
8?
Or 10?
Well, it depends on who's going to be the quarterbacks for next season.
Well, I mean, obviously Mahomes, Rodgers, Breeze, Andrew Luck, Deshaun Watson. Those guys are probably going to be gone.
Do you put
right
Brady
away.
above him?
Probably because
Brady
Brady's
has kind of the same
consistent.
numbers.
Like, the problem with Kirk Cousins is he's wildly inconsistent.
True, but it could be wildly inconsistent in the positive mark rather than negative part.
Right,
because it goes both ways.
Russell Wilson will be drafted higher than Cousins. Matt Ryan will be drafted
Honestly,
higher.
I would be a little hesitant with Russell Wilson. I know he's amazing and great, but
he's a great fantasy quarterback, though.
Yeah, but like we were talking about before, they run the ball a lot too, and kind of cost him a couple of touchdowns.
They do run a little bit more than you'd like as from your fantasy quarterback, but look, 35 touchdown passes this year.
No, I'm not taking that away from him. I'm saying he could have gotten more, though.
He had a down year. In fact, you could argue that Russell Wilson's a bounce-back candidate because he had his lowest passing numbers since 2014. He's normally at 4,000 yards. He was at 3,400.
And in 2014, Marshawn was the guy.
I think, Russell Wilson is going to be a guy that's going to score a lot of fantasy points next year as long as he stays continues to stay healthy.
Kirk Cousins has the potential to be a dark horse in that category.
Yeah. All right, I got one more.
I also have one more.
Devontae Freeman.
I was considering him.
Devontae Freeman is just somebody who he's ran for over 10 touchdowns. He's ran for over 1,000 rushing yards. He catches 50 to 60 passes when he's healthy. He's a do-it-all running back. He's not a first-round pick in terms of running backs, but he's definitely a second-round pick if he's healthy. He's absolutely a monster as an RB2.
His points per game average have fallen in consecutive years. He went from 21.2 points per game to 17.8 to 14.1. And that's not something that sounds good. And with Coleman hitting free agency, and I don't know, it just seems like he needs to bounce back rather than I could see a bounce back. But I don't take him. Do you take him in the first 3 rounds?
Second round. Definitely a second-round pick for Devontae Freeman. It's a running back league in fantasy football.
His consistency of draw.
He's a top 10 running back when he's healthy. I mean, he just is. Like he might not be the most exciting running back, but
if he goes back to averaging 21 points a game, yeah. But going from that and now he averaging only 14 points a game, I know why, but that concerns me still. Does that concern you?
I mean, all that concerns me is his health. If he's healthy, the dude's a stud. I mean, he's a top 10 running back. Now, he hasn't been healthy the last 2 years, so sure. But his last healthy year, he had 1,000 yards, 54 catches, 11 touchdowns running. Like, he's getting 15 total touchdowns and 1,600 total yards. Like, that's almost RB1 numbers. RB2, slam dunk. Like, I would love to have Ezekiel Elliott and Devontae Freeman after 2 rounds.
Yeah.
Like I'd be euphoric in that regard.
I have one particular player that people I think I've overlooked because he got injured really early in the season, and that's Delaney Walker.
Yeah.
He was the focal point of that offense for the Titans, and he has been for many years. And in week 1, he made it all of 39 snaps in week 1 before injuring his ankle. Like, who knows what he could have done this season if he didn't injure his ankle. And
my only issue with Delaney Walker is that he's older.
He's still going to be a focal point in that offense when he returns.
I mean, possibly. We don't know that to be sure. But the dude is 35 years old.
Well, with Jonnu Smith, to me, and Corey Davis having an okay game, then a pretty good game, and not being great, he could definitely reprise.
Well, Corey Davis is really good. It's his quarterback play that hasn't been good. That's a problem. But for Delaney Walker, he's going to be 35 years old when the season starts, coming off a major injury. There is some concern there. I mean, I understand what you're saying.
I think the door is wide open for him to reclaim his role as the top offensive player on that team.
Right, but we all know that the top offensive player on the Titans is not necessarily a fantasy starter because that is one heck of a maddening offense to get behind. And
maddening like
yes.
John Madden or like insane?
Insane.
Got
because they're so inconsistent. Look at Derrick Henry. Didn't do anything. Then all of a sudden he blows up. Corey Davis will have a great game. Corey Davis scored 2 touchdowns and had 100 yards receiving in a playoff game against the Patriots last year and then was like nowhere to be found this year. Even though he's open all the time, Mariota could never get him the ball. Mariota's always hurt. That's my problem with Mariota.
So you're not a big Mariota fan?
No, because he's always hurt. Like he's hurt every game. He's literally, when he's not playing, he's playing with an injury. Like, that's the thing with Mariota. How many times this year was he questionable, and then he's a game-time decision? Oh, he's not playing. Oh, he's playing, but he's hurt. Oh, like, does the guy ever play healthy? I never see it. I never see it.
I have a gut feeling you want the Titans to draft a quarterback.
I like Mariota. I think I root for him. He's a good guy. Like, he does all the right things. For all intents and purposes, we know him as a guy who studies. We know him as a guy who plays hard, practices hard. He's a good leader. The problem is the guy can't stay healthy, and he's not a big quarterback. He's a little bit of a framed quarterback. And I'll tell you right now, Jeff, that offense was bad last year. They have a new coordinator again. And this is going to be Mariota's like fourth offensive coordinator now.
You know, that kind of reminds me of Alex
I'm getting
Smith.
I'm getting worried about the Titans being. Now, Delaney Walker, to his credit, and I'll give you a positive here in your. To his credit, he's been able to be the most consistent player of all the Titans players over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
My only worry is major injury, 35 years old, and the season starts, and then like what's the upside for the offense? But tight ends are the hardest position in fantasy football. So
did anyone expect George Kittle to break the all-time receiving record for tight ends? I don't think so.
Nobody expected him to do that, but George Kittle was a hot name going into the drafts this year. Like, he was a player that a lot of people were trying to get
did
early.
anyone expect Eric Ebron to have double-digit touchdown catches?
No.
There you go. Booyah. Now he's going to be a huge
Ebron having
commodity.
double-digit touchdown catches is not as surprising as if Delaney Walker was a Pro Bowler next year. I'd be very surprised if Delaney Walker was like a Pro Bowl caliber player next year, because that offense, that quarterback, I don't see it.
Okay, if you have a starting tight end and he's on a bye week and Delaney Walker is available in the waiver wire.
Oh, yeah, but we're talking about bounce-back candidate. We're talking about players not on the waiver wire. We're talking about guys you'll be investing a draft capital in them. But
what round would you consider? Okay, first of all, what round do you usually draft a tight end?
So I'm a believer that drafting a tight end early and getting one of the top 3 tight ends is a big advantage in fantasy football, because I would rather have a great tight end and 2 average receivers than 1 great receiver, 1 average receiver, and 1 below average tight end. Because I'll tell you right now, having a George Kittle, a Zach Ertz, or a Travis Kelce meant that your fantasy team probably did very well last year, because that is such an advantage when you're playing somebody whose tight end might get 5 points and yours is getting 20 or getting 25. You can make up the difference in a wide receiver or a running back.
True.
So for me personally, I'm a proponent of draft tight
third,
end early.
4th round?
I would draft a tight end as early as I could without going overboard. I would draft
first round, first overall pick.
I would draft Travis Kelce, George Kittle, or Zach Ertz in the 3rd round next year. I would do it, absolutely. If I knew that I wouldn't get one on the way back.
Would you go running back, receiver, tight end, or would you go running back, tight end?
I don't know. I am not married to a single philosophy. I'll take what the draft gives me, right? Like, I would rather have 2 stud running backs and a tight end, but if the players and the people in front of me drafted heavy running back, and then I have a guy like Adam Thielen, and then my next available running back is, I don't know, like insert running back for the Redskins here or something like that. Like, I'll take Adam Thielen, you know what I mean? Like, I don't get married to a philosophy because that gets you in trouble. You kind of have to take what the draft gives you. You also have to know, like, I play in a couple leagues where I'm in every single year, so I know kind of what to expect. I know when it's your pick, I know what you've done in the past at this position, so I'm sure I can kind of figure out where you're going. That makes a difference too. I did want to ask you one question, though, before we end this podcast.
Sure.
Larry Fitzgerald is coming back to the Cardinals. Bounce back year? He had a down year. He's got a new offensive-minded coach who's supposed to be a very passing-oriented guy. Bounce back year or too old for you?
You know, I don't think Fitzgerald can ever be too old for me. He's always a guy that surprises me every season. So, honestly, if I had to pick one more wide receiver and I'm in like the 7th round, yeah. Mm-hmm. Why not, right?
Yeah.
Roll the dice.
He's an interesting...
Because he doesn't look like remember like with Carson Palmer, we're like, oh, he's at the end of his career. And then he's amazing. Mm-hmm. And then he continued. He just has amazed me year after year. Regardless of what the quarterback is, he's still a deadly receiver at his age.
Right.
So you can't go wrong with him. It's just you'll have to worry about one crucial thing. That's the quarterback position. Mm-hmm. Because it's not really his fault in situations like that because of the fact sometimes he just can never get the ball to him. And the offensive line is horrible at pass blocking, so he can never try to get open because the guy's already sacked by that point.
Yeah, I agree. So we'll talk more Monday. We'll start looking at Super Bowl daily fantasy. We'll
Finally, right?
We'll talk about more season-long fantasy discussions next week. Possible maybe players that we think are going to the opposite of bounce back. Maybe they had a good season this year, and you think that they're just going to go back to what they were before they had a breakout year. Maybe other topics, of course. But please join us on Monday. Have a good weekend, everyone.
Yes, enjoy your weekend, enjoy the Pro Bowl, and have a good day.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Fantasy Football Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.